All right.
Good.
Welcome back, those of you who are streaming the meeting tonight. We said we were going to do our best to go back to live streaming when we come out of the closed session. We have made a motion to come out of the closed session. We are now ready to make some motions on decisions. A motion, a second to approve the position of paraprofessional or one-on-one paraprofessional, Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High School, to be determined at the IEP meeting later in September. Kenna? Francie? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion and a second to approve the employment of Casey Monque, social studies and physical education teacher, Blue Ridge High School, and also Douglas Berkman as the operation maintenance supervisor district. Carlos? Second? Jason? No, we striked out the Spanish teacher. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
All copies.
Need a motion, a second, to approve the use of professional days. First the use of personal days for approved circumstances as discussed with supervisors and administrators. Carlos? Francie. I heard out of my left ear quicker than my right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Need a motion and a second to approve Dr. Staniford to hire for any open positions prior to the October Board of Education meeting. Jason? Kenna? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we're on to our good of a cause discussions.
Okay, we got a couple things added on there. So Senate Bill 818 has become Public Act 102-522, and you do have a packet of information in front of you about that. There is also a little snip from Illinois Principals Association, and the basic rundown is that if a school district decides to adopt these comprehensive sex education, there's language for the younger group and language for the older group. If we decided to, we would have to follow their 15 parameters that are listed there in the beginning of your packet. A district does, according to IPA, a district does not need to adopt those. The state is charged with providing resource materials to districts by posting them on their webpage by August of 2022. We are currently covering the mandated pieces of health curriculum in our school district, and I don't believe that any one of us sitting here, including Paige, would have the desire to do any more or different than what we are currently doing. And you're welcome to read through that if you want to bring up any conversation about that. I know you're just getting the hard copy of it, but you did have it inside your packet. So I don't know if there's any questions that you have. You're welcome to take those packets home with you and kind of peruse. One thing that's a bit comforting to me is that there is still the ability in writing for any parent to opt out of any portion of this curriculum if it would be brought into the school district. But again, correct.
Has anybody gotten any feedback from community about this bill at all? Is anybody aware of it? I've only had a couple people really come up to me and ask me about this specific bill. Yeah, like 2 inches from your mouth.
Oh, even teachers are confused. I had teachers that I've taught with call and text me, what does this bill mean? Thinking that I could explain it as a school board member.
Yeah.
So
Well, you can see the language. I mean, there's a lot of language there, right?
There is a lot of
It's
So
ridiculous.
it's a matter of just digging through it and then asking for help when you need help interpreting. But I thought the IPA document in there, I think it's titled as such, is very helpful with some Q&A in there. So even though it's effective immediately, it doesn't mean you have to have these things up and running, nor do you have to do that. We're doing the bare minimum.
Correct.
So if we're comfortable with the minimum, which I am, and all of them are comfortable with the minimum, then that's where we stay. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No.
I think you have a consensus for the board that we're agreeant.
Happy where we are.
Yep.
Okay. Shield update. Andrea Weedman did a significant amount of work working with Skyward to get all of our kids and all of our staff who want to be a part of SHIELD. It was a very detailed spreadsheet that had to be done in a very exact way. So she was working with Skyward to have them write a program to pull it over so we didn't have to do a lot of data entry and make errors. That just got updated, most of it yesterday, a little bit this morning. So now we're communicating with SHIELD. You get a relationship manager, you get a third-party vendor who's going to come in and do the testing. All this stuff is a little bit nebulous right now, to be honest. But we've communicated with them today, and we're waiting to see if it truly is a 5-day waiting period before they come in and meet with each principal and find out how do you want to do this, or if it's really the 5 to 6 weeks like other superintendents have reported. Executive order update. Yeah, it's coming. So next week we need to be ready to start working with people if they don't have vaccination cards in. We've had about 5 or 6 more vaccination cards come in the last week or 10 days. And so I'm guessing we're right about 40 of our district personnel that are going to need to be checked every week. So we have a long spreadsheet. We have a plan set up for how they're going to, they have to be on their own to get their testing because we don't have anything in-house. They can test as early as tomorrow, and results need to be in next Thursday. If not, I email them that night and say, hey, you're not up to par yet, and hopefully they get it in Friday or over the weekend. Sandy doesn't work over the weekend, so I'll be watching on Sunday night, and then I will mark off anybody who's not allowed to come to work on Monday, and then they and Liz Raines will start looking at who those people are and see if we can get coverage for them the next day. So Rob Duke does not know of anybody who's planning on fighting the process. I hope they're not hiding. You saw we had one letter before from a staff member, and I've not heard back again, so I think we're resolved. It would be my hope that we can follow through and just move on and have our routine.
Is it, and where, do we have areas for, I don't know, we have teachers, staff living in different cities. Where are the main areas that they can go and get their testing?
We've sent multiple emails about where they can go, even after talking with IERMP, because our health insurance is self-funded. So we want to make sure that it's not, it looks like it's free, but it's $200 per test on the back end to the health insurance company, because then we land up paying for that in the long run. So I don't have them memorized because there's been so much information, but we have sent out at least 2 emails, one with some generic information about where they can go, and then one that was approved by our nurse navigator through IERMP. We are not taking home tests, but we'll take any other test.
And once the shield's up and running, that would be a way of testing.
Then they can do that here.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, Parkland was on our list. Yeah, I think the most economical one, I think Parkland was on the list as one of the better ones. So, yeah. And so I've talked to Rob. The district attorney is advising that if somebody is not compliant with their testing, that would be a dock day. And Rob said, well, what's to keep them from just taking a sick day? I said, well, probably nothing. Probably have to figure that out when we get there. But for right now, we're hoping that people will bring back a negative test and they just come in. If they get a positive test, then they have to stay out because they're sick. If they get a positive test but they've been cleared by the health department, like somebody who's just recovering from COVID now, perhaps, and they're cleared from the health department but their test still says that they're positive, then the health department clearance rules and they can come back to work. Those are the most recent conversations with Jeff.
If somebody is coming back from COVID and they've been cleared to come back, do they still have to get tested if they choose not to get vaccinated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Next is strategic planning. So we have a document. I'm not sure if you've tried to. Oh, nice. Hopefully you can access that. And what I'd really like is to see everybody start adding some names to that.
Did you see my names I added?
I haven't looked at the document.
I can't from this link because it needs access.
Well, then ask me for that. Then it'll come up as an email.
Well, somehow I got it open on a different way. I think it was on my
You're clever
computer.
like that?
Let me, my tablet, it would not.
Yeah, that might be. So far, so what I asked you to do on here is, like I had 2 people from my,
No, so mine don't show, and I shared it. I thought I shared it.
okay, so from my newsletter, I had 2 people, David Harris and Gina Lagle, and so I asked for last name, first name, email, phone, who they are, basically what's their role, district retiree or employee, how did you get on this list, who made the contact, and are you attending 1016, and any notes. So if you have 3 people that you think, oh, I think these would be great people, why don't you put them on, tell me a little bit about it, get some contact information. I'd prefer if you made the contact, that would be great because you must know them, and then just let us know that they're coming or they're not coming. And if you just want to give me some names and contact information and you want me to do it, then just send me an email and say, hey, can you call these 5 people? The basic idea, I didn't ask Patrick, he didn't remember to send anything to me, but we want to meet on October 16th. I set a starting time at 8 o'clock. Selfishly, my daughter's having her bridal shower, and I might miss it for strategic planning. But if we start at 8 o'clock in the morning, there's a slight chance that we'd get out of here by 2, and I could make it to the bridal shower late.
Well, where's your priorities?
Yeah, I know. So the basic idea is that we're going to just do some vision casting and look at a couple different areas and find out where the people who are in attendance would like the district to go in the next 3 to 5 years. So I would like to see business leaders. I'd like to see, maybe there's law enforcement, community, long-standing community members, retirees, district staff. I'll take care of inviting district staff people, but you guys have more connections than I do. I want to hit all 3 communities. I don't want people to feel left out.
I'd hope the Blue Ridge Federation president would want to attend, Rob Duke.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hopefully.
was thinking we would just typically send for sure letter of out to the mayors of each community.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's telling. Yeah. Yeah. Is it still Eston? Spell the last name for me. Allen. Allen. Okay. I'm putting Francie down for that one. Brian, I'm putting you down for Scott. Calling Scott Testery and asking him. I'll talk to Ryan. Or sorry, I'll talk to Rob. I'll add the board candidate names there.
Any past school board president or member, or anybody you think that would still have?
I'm going to put Justin Otto on here.
Yeah. I thought Jean Bateman would be a very good parent or somebody to put on there to contact.
Okay.
I thought she's always had really good positive communication with the district. We have any volunteers in the schools buildings that you think would be, they're always there, parents are always there wanting to help, or It seems like every time you turn around, you always see them there to support.
Shalonda?
Yeah.
Shalonda?
What about any of the auxiliary committees, like the BREF?
Got a BREF representative name in your pocket?
PIEs, PTAs, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Okay. Some of these are just ideas and some are real people names. So when you hop on there, feel free to add and feel free to put yourself down as the contact made by and then let us know if they're coming or not, or you're waiting for an answer or whatever. Okay. Now if you need another column, but I think everybody has editing privileges, so if you want to add something to it that I didn't think of on the list, just go for it. Okay. You have an email in front of you printed about the IASB dinner. That just came through after the board packet was posted. And I also sent it to you in an email tonight at 8 o'clock because there's some links on here. Is that something the superintendent goes to or just the board members?
Well, typically the superintendent went to them.
Okay.
Yeah. If, not all the time. Dion and I we went to one or two of them by ourselves.
Okay.
If you can't. But
Dale did.
yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. That's not supposed to be coming till like November, your gifts. So, but maybe that's why. Oh.
I put my note because I got an email like last week about it.
Huh.
Well, knowing that it's October 6th and we won't have another board meeting before then,
Yeah.
I thought it would be good maybe have Christy send an email out as a reminder if we're wanting to attend this. Right. Okay.
Reservations are requested by October 4. And, oh, there's one more thing. So in our most recent round of purchasing books for this high school library, it was found that we had some books that were, in the administration's opinion, inappropriate to be placed in a public school library. There was a book that had some cartoon references to some sexual information. So going beyond just a gender discussion, there was sexual information in the book. And so that was pulled from the shelf. No student was able to check it out. I have since pulled all of the new books from the high school, and Mary Diener and I have split those up, and we're doing, in my opinion, like a 20-minute quick read through like 20 pages at a time kind of thing, a skim. And I wanted to come to you as a board. I've checked with district attorney. The board and the superintendent have the right to guide the librarian as to what would be appropriate. And if you start to really think through the process of ordering books and putting them on the shelves, it's not just a black or white. There's a lot of gray in that area. And so I want to make a suggestion to you for if we look at some of those topics on a continuum, I want to be able to correctly relay our guidance to our district librarian so she understands where we're coming from in our district, in our community, and what we think is appropriate for a public school library. So it would be my recommendation that there would be no picture or written communication about sexual acts in library books. In other words, we don't want pictures about people having sex. We don't want to have written stories about people doing sexual acts. And we're not talking about it's regardless of gender. We're just talking about that. We don't feel like that is appropriate to have in a school district library. So I want to know what your thoughts are, if you feel like that's a way to narrow down that continuum. Could there be things sitting in the library right now that would cross that line? Perhaps, and if found, it would be my suggestion that we pull. And it would also be my suggestion that once we give the librarian that guidance, that when it's time to do that order, perhaps administrative involvement in helping review. Books were purchased from a reviewed source and recommended. However, we find that a few of the books that came in just don't seem to meet community standards. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I think you'll have a lot of people glad they heard that statement. And and in no way are we knocking the work that our district librarian's doing. No way. We're not saying that. It's just that the list that she was utilizing was a list that probably, I don't know, that was something that was recommended. And so that, and I asked Dr. Stanifer, how is that this even got into here? And like, you have to realize once they recommend something, it's almost like there is a ton of books on that. So it's almost, and it's hard to just click on that one book title and all of a sudden get a virtual run through and be able to thumb through all that and see that as one individual. So I think we're on the right track here.
Was this from the same list that the other books that were brought to our attention were also ordered from?
Most likely.
The same source? And we said
I
that
don't
we
know
didn't.
that for sure, but that's a source.
And at that
she
time,
uses.
we said we didn't feel like it was our place to, it wasn't our authority, I suppose. We felt like if she's getting it from, it was like something of the Society of Librarians or something like that.
Library, yeah.
The board felt like it wasn't our place to supersede that. So now are we kind of
Going
changing our
against what we
mindset?
said?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
And I think some of the difference is that the content that we were struggling with before was, it's a little bit progressive perhaps for our community, but at the same time it was misplaced in the age level. And so we moved it to where it was appropriate and being taught in the health class. And to me, that was more of a definition type of material. What we're seeing now and what I'm pulling from the shelf is where there's actual sexual act being described or being pictured.
If we're saying that goes against our community standards, but we haven't gotten any community input perhaps on the other issues, is that something we should get community input on if we're going to use what we think our broader community standards would be for what books we do place in our libraries?
Didn't we say too that we were going to get involvement from the community and stuff in the future? We're going to work.
I don't remember that part.
Our district webpage has.
Yes, there was going to be some type of input or something. I thought we had discussed that.
If you haven't seen it, our district webpage, if you go under menu and then you go to district library, Sylvia has built a very nice, very comprehensive webpage there. And under help desk, I think it is, you can make a recommendation. So that could be anybody who has access to our webpage. So it could be a community member, it could be a parent, it could be a student, it could be a teacher.
Is that something that can be a reminder sent out to the district to
Or could we even add to our day on October 16th, what kind of books would you like, not books, but in our libraries, what kind of standards, what would you like to see in the libraries that your tax dollars are paying for? Not worded, of course, more eloquently as
maybe that would
Dr.
be at a
Stanifer
curriculum.
would.
There's like 5 categories already for that day. Maybe that would be a subcategory for curriculum.
Yeah.
If I can add that in there. Dale, you said, can we send that back out? I have a memo that I wrote for tomorrow because I am going to meet with our district librarian in the morning. I'm going to and have another follow-up meeting with a different group in the afternoon. But then I have written a statement that I want to send out to the district saying, this is the process that we're going to use. This is what the board discussed last night. Here's how you make a recommendation for a book or an author choice that you would like to see added to the collection. I can add that to my newsletter as well, because we know I get a far-reaching audience on my newsletter.
Can you tell how many people did it?
I can. I don't have numbers in my head.
That many, huh?
So Chelsea, yeah, are we saying different things than we said before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's very difficult. Ryan and I had a lengthy discussion. We added Jeff Funk to this discussion to try to figure out where do we go.
Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, we want to have a diverse collection. We
Mhm.
want to. It's okay to have things that we don't necessarily agree with in our library. I think we cross the line when we're being very descriptive about sexual acts.
I would agree.
Yeah, we discussed about censorship, and we didn't feel like the board was, that we were not elected as a board to be a censor of what, you know, but I think this is where we're realizing that this is not what this community tolerates or would want in
Mhm.
their school library. And I think that in a larger community, in a bigger section demographic area, that maybe that is not such an issue, but I think it is definitely here in our communities.
I guess I kind of take a different approach of viewing what I was elected to do. The people that talked to me and convinced me to run wanted less of what is becoming more mainstream in schools in our school. And that is a cultural thing. So
Mhm.
I guess it's just a difference of opinion on what we were elected to do.
That's good.
Yeah. Not, well, I guess it depends on how you define diversity. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, but what I keep hearing is that we need to pay attention to what this community will want, and I don't know if we actually have the authority to say whether or not the community would want such things in the library.
But you're thinking that if that's a subsection of a group of a table at strategic planning, that would be a way to give the community a
I
voice
would give them
about
at least a chance. I mean, I don't know how many, it might be a dud, but I think if we keep using the rationale of for this, we know the community wouldn't want that, but then we're saying, but the community would want this, but on both, we've never actually polled the community. But then once we have the consensus, then as the elected officials, we can then say, oh, considering this, and now using our best judgment, and you guys put us in charge, you elected us, this is where we will go. And I've never been truly comfortable with the balcony and the dance floor, just because.
Right, and that's why it's in good of the cause, because it's not a board action, and that's why we conferred with Jeff Funk, and he said the board and/or the superintendent can guide those decisions. So I just wanted, since it is a very sensitive topic, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. That's why I brought a recommendation to you of where we stand and what we would like to do, and just wanted to let you know that and hear if there was a great discrepancy with what we were planning to do.
So how to gauge community standard is the catch. I mean,
Mhm.
it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Your microphone.
Is there not some sort of a system? I'm just thinking when I decide if I'm going to allow my child to watch a movie, I can look it up and I can determine, okay, I'm looking for, is there sexual content in this? What's the profanity? What's the violence? Like, is there not some sort of a system that is identifying what under some specific categories are in the books?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not a librarian, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I feel like I'm taking on a little bit of that role, reluctantly. But I think, if we're hearing that what's coming to us has been on the recommended list, then obviously we need to figure out who's recommending that list and how we can review. That's why we talked about having administrators available when the next purchasing comes around. The purchasing was done in a mass amount at the end of the school year. We have to say that we had tasked our district librarian with doing all work with our online learners last year. So at the very end of the year, she was doing the ordering for her entire budget. There's no way that you can read $4,000 worth of books and know exactly what's coming in, and she's going to the reviewed list. So it's difficult to have a fail-safe process, I would say, even if there's different screens that we put in our way. But I think one thing that we can do is give her that guidance as to what we are looking for according to our community standards, and then when we see the ordering go in, then hopefully there's a way for us to join in that process and to be reviewers, like an Amazon book review where you can read multiple pages before it's purchased. So hopefully we'll have the ability to either stagger so we can help out more, or have all eyes on deck at the end when we're making that order.
All right. Anybody else input? All right. Otherwise, I think we'll move on to adjournment. And sorry, Francie, this was not as quick as the last meeting, but we need a motion and a second. We need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 8:53 p.m. Carlos? Jason. All right, we can stay longer. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you and good evening to all.